hold you back anymore. Let it go, let it go. Turn away and slam the door. I don't care what they're going to say. Let the storm rage on. Cold never bothered me anymore.
You slurped again.
I'm going to be slurping all day long today.
I haven't had coffee yet.
It was
I'm going to take the time to go get it because I was late.
Yep, late night.
I was.
Early morning.
It happens.
April, you were.
For those who know me, shock and surprise.
You were.
I think we're all kind of always late for stuff. I
Yeah.
am constantly just
Yeah.
running late for everything.
Yeah.
I get really
know,
bad
I-
anxiety about it, honestly. Like,
About
pretty
being
intense
late.
about being late. Yeah.
I've had to kind of let it go a little bit because it's a constant thing for me.
You're right.
But well, between myself or
Screw it.
well, no, it's not about not caring. It's about, I mean, I care actually very, very, very much, and I hate inconveniencing people, and I'm always apologizing for something, as far as like running late or not responding to an email or whatever.
I'm often apologizing for the way I look.
You don't look bad.
Sorry.
But it's because I have to. It's a self-preservation thing for me to just let it go, because if I don't,
No, you
my
gotta. Yeah, no, for
anxiety
sure.
Yeah.
will just be
Same
through
here.
the
For
roof
sure.
all
Okay,
the time.
okay.
And it's I try very hard.
That's
It's
good
just
advice for
nothing-
me, if I'm being honest.
Actually, yeah.
yeah.
Just seriously, let it go.
Yeah.
Don't
Let
sweat
it
the
go,
small
y'all.
stuff.
Just
Let it go.
Okay.
Oh, I think I just found our opening music.
Can't hold it back anymore. Being late never bothered me anyway, except it really did until I cried in my car outside before I came in. Hi, everybody.
Which is why you were late.
Guess what? It's the Nerd Factor.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Brandon.
I'm Cece.
And I'm April.
And we love you guys. What's going
Go
on?
over top of each other because that's what we
We
do.
are on fire today.
We are. We are something today.
Yeah.
Or at least we're a little
Something
warm.
indeed.
Yay.
A little bit warm.
A little bit warm. Actually, it's like not freezing in here. It's kind of nice.
I know. I
I'm-
know. I
I'm-
wore
it's-
like an actual sweater today so that
Yeah. Well, I
I
got
prepared
leggings
to
on.
freeze to death.
Do you guys want to know how old I am? I'm so old that whenever I'm cold,
I was
like in
the
my
same
life,
age
I know
as
how old you
us.
whenever I'm cold, I'm so old that the first thing in my mind every time, regardless of situation, context, right, is it's frickin' freezing in here, Mr. Bigglesworth.
Oh, yeah.
Oh
Every
my
time.
gosh.
Do you guys, you understand that it's been like 20 years
I was
since
just
quoting
gonna
Austin
say that.
Powers
Yeah.
has been
Really?
okay.
It's like 20 years, yeah.
It's really not.
I feel like I watched.
Oh my gosh.
I feel like when I turned 15, maybe,
Uh-huh.
I had like a party at my house, birthday party. My friends came over and slept at my house, and we watched Austin Powers on video cassette.
For sure.
Oh
For
my
sure.
God.
I've literally like
I suddenly
watched
feel
people.
old.
So this would have been in like 97.
For sure. I've watched people like
Oh,
decide
yeah.
that I'm less cool when I quote Dr. Evil. Like I've watched it wash
That's
over
the
their
deciding
face. Like
factor.
I
That
was
moment right there.
Like they were really into me and
watched their faces
excited.
fall.
Yeah, for sure. They're like, oh
Hey,
man,
it's your party trick. Hey, watch this.
Right.
Quotes Austin Powers.
Right.
Suddenly,
$1
you get just
million
like,
dollars, and people are like, oh, I thought this was something else. I'm sorry. I hear.
It's like a monitor, and it just goes.
Yeah,
Or like a
right.
thermometer. That's what it is. The thermometer just goes.
I gotta go wash
the
my
mercury
hair
drops.
and snack on broken glass. Anything to get away from you.
Wow.
He's quoting Dr. Evil. Please run.
Oh my God.
There are many out-of-date quotes from that movie.
Many. Yeah.
I really enjoyed the.
Tom quotes it to me all the time. Yeah. Anytime that something will come up, and I'll be like he'll rub my back or whatever, or try and pop my back. Really, is
How
when
does
he tries
that
to
feel, baby?
And I'll go lower, and he'll go, how does that feel, baby? And he
See,
does
it's still
to me.
funny.
Right?
It is still
I-
funny.
Ladies and
I
gentlemen,
maintain
Mr.
that
Burt
it's still
Bacharach.
funny.
I'm so glad.
Freaking lasers attached to their freaking heads.
That's great. Thanks, guys, for not running away screaming.
Well, they
Oh
might.
my God.
Yeah, right. It's still early in the podcast.
For those of you who are over 30 and get what we're saying.
Yes. We have something very exciting that we are doing this week. We
Yeah.
are giving away tickets. These tickets were given to us. And these are 2 tickets to the Sunday 2:35 p.m. showing on November the 5th of, drumroll please, Thor Ragnarok.
All right.
Woo!
Remember,
it is only specifically
remember.
for that show.
The 5th of November, the Chris Hemsworth and Loki and Thor.
I was just trying to see where
Right.
you were going with
I can
this.
think of no reason that you shouldn't want these tickets. If you don't, then you're such a bore.
Not too shabby.
Thanks. It wasn't very good.
I'm trying to
so
be nice.
Lost.
Guy Fawkes Day.
Yeah. But that just
It's okay.
He tried.
wasn't.
He tried to make. Well, there's
I'm 0 for 2 this morning, guys.
There's the little poem or whatever limerick, I guess. He was trying. I'm being nice. I'm being nice.
You guys are so
It
nice
was
to me.
great, Brandon.
You guys are so nice to me. Talk
All
about
right,
the tickets.
just
Talk
all
about
right,
the
so
tickets.
these tickets. So, if you would like to win these tickets, you will have to do something on our Facebook page.
a specific something.
A very specific something
Specific something.
that we will tell you at the end of the episode.
Ooh.
Ooh.
I hope it gets racy.
Ooh.
Yeah, you have to listen to the whole episode. Woo!
Oh, boy.
Hopefully you want to anyway.
Right. Right.
Speaking of our fans or listeners, I'll call them.
Yes, our listeners.
Don't want to be too,
Yeah,
overstating.
we have fans. Ooh, we're-
I know they might be fans.
All
I'm
our fans.
I'm starting to get like people are mailing me like strange packages.
Oh
and
man, I
stuff.
can only hope.
Yeah, I know they're coming like
magazine letters
people-
cut out on.
Yeah, for sure.
newspaper.
Magazine exactly like taped around a brick
I
that's
really
thrown
hope
through
that
my
you are
window, my living
serious.
room window.
I really hope you're serious. I wish I
Just says
don't
nerd.
think you are, but I really hope you are.
Nerd.
Yeah,
it's
yes,
just
Brandon,
a photograph.
that's fan mail.
It's
That's
right.
what that is.
It's just a
Oh,
photograph.
you must watch my show.
Yeah, right.
Listen to my show.
It's just a photograph of a muskrat,
Thanks, friend.
right? Just taped to my fridge when I come home, but nobody else has been there. Thanks, fans.
Oh my god, I love it.
Fans.
Fans
Love
are
it.
stalkers.
But
Okay,
but
so
yeah, a
At the
couple
end
of
of the episode, we will tell you what you need to do on our Facebook page to listen to be eligible to win these tickets. We'll do a random drawing from everyone who successfully does this and follows the rules. And then next week we will announce the winner, and then you can come and pick them up.
Cool.
Cool beans.
so back to our fans / listeners / friends.
/ stalkers.
Several people have sent me a text really up in arms about the "We Are the Champions" thing.
Really?
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
They're
Is that
like,
so?
just so you guys know, they do say we are the champions of the world. And
At
I'm like,
the
right,
end?
they do say it, but not
Ah.
at the end.
Right.
And they're like, oh well, okay.
That is so funny.
You're like, sit down.
is
These are the
so
people, because I'm the one who brought this up. These are the people throwing bricks through my window. See,
They are,
It's your
yeah.
friends.
Nerd.
So,
Liar. Cutting out the word liar.
Liar.
But no, I love the feedback. I love that people
Absolutely.
are talking and
Yeah.
debating and
Yeah.
wondering if
Absolutely.
we know what we're talking about.
For sure.
Well, hopefully, we've got something in the works where we're hoping that we can answer some of your feedback more directly. And
I think we should play "We Are the Champions."
I think that we should
Yeah.
every single time.
For
And
every-
play the
yeah.
end. Play
Every
the
time.
end of it
Yeah.
where he doesn't say it.
Yeah.
Or maybe,
Every time.
Maybe our this is our 12th episode, right?
Yes.
Maybe our 13th.
Dirty Dozen.
13, right? Not totally. Maybe our Baker's Dozen episode then. Wait, is that 13? Is it Baker's
Yes.
Yeah,
Dozen?
Yeah,
Baker's
Baker's
Dozen,
Dozen 13.
I've
yeah.
always assumed that's just because like bakers were lazy and they screwed one up.
I thought it was because they were nice and wanted you to
You
have
know,
more.
I don't
This
know
is
what
the difference
origin is.
between our worldviews right here. I think bakers are lazy and you just you're so sweet. Cece.
I thought it had something to do with like their numbers or something where like, I don't know.
so for
They have a different number system. Bakers do.
it's like metric system.
okay, that works.
That stupid
Right, the
puritanical
metric
American
right,
system.
Yeah.
And then the baker
And then
system.
the baker's system. My car gets 40 rods to the hog's head, and that's the way I likes it. That's a Simpson direct. I lifted that directly from Matt Groening.
It's a shame we haven't adopted the baker's number system.
I know the
Right?
baker's
I
number
know.
system.
It's so many countries are moving towards this.
It's like
Why are we always the last ones?
1, 2,
So behind.
muffin, bear claw.
It's like those images. It's like Batman plus Batman equals 30.
Yeah.
Batman plus Spider-Man plus
Love
Spider-Man
it.
equals 20.
Right.
Everybody's
what
fighting.
Does,
Right.
Yes.
There are like 496 comments. And people
And you're
are
like,
"Oh."
dang, Common Core.
So the baker system is like
I can't believe I gotta
muffin
do
plus muffin plus muffin equals 30.
Good.
Muffin plus cake equals 10. I don't know.
Right,
I don't
and
know why.
this-
Muffin
The
worth
answer
more
is
than-
42.
The answer is the Swedish chef. He's terrifying and disembodied, and I hate him so much.
I love him.
I am horrified
love
of the
him.
Muppets a lot.
I want to say that
I
I
don't
would
like
be
puppets either.
I can't do it.
Okay, puppets don't bother me. Dolls bother me. For some reason, there's a differentiation between the two.
Listen,
My daughter is obsessed with the Muppets. She loves the Muppets.
they're You can't tell me that any Muppet wouldn't climb in bed with you after you fall asleep and just lay there with their eyes open. That's what they all do. They're terrifying. I have different tiers of Muppets. I'm terrified of the Muppets.
Image of you laying in bed.
And Kermit the Frog.
Just laying there, with his
eyes open.
Not doing
Gazing
anything,
at your dead
right.
moose eyes.
Not doing anything particularly threatening, but he's there anyway, and his eyes are open. I can't handle it. Yeah, I have different
Drinking
tiers
tea.
of Muppets.
You know,
right.
my mom would have the dolls were very, very popular when my mom was a child. That would, you'd lay them down and their eyes would close, and you'd set them up and their eyes would open. She had to make sure before she went to bed that every single one of them was laying down.
Oh yeah.
And their eyes were closed.
What if one of them sat up?
Then we have other issues.
Then you move.
Yeah. Leave. Just leave.
Well, geez, we hope you guys are having a good time. We are.
We sure
So
are.
far.
We sure
I
are.
think we're not awake.
Maybe that's what it is. We're slap happy.
Delirious.
Hold on 1 second. I'll work on that.
Oh, don't slurp.
Caffeinated.
That's awful.
Beverage.
So, speaking of, again, fans and friends,
Okay.
listeners,
Yay.
we had a guest last week,
Yes.
as we all know, Ricky,
Mm-hmm.
and she talked about this book that it would be intriguing for us to kind of dive in,
Oh yeah.
look at. It's
Yeah.
called The Handbook for Mortals. I've been wanting to call it The Unknown Mortals since I've looked at it. So Handbook for Mortals.
Okay. Handbook for
for
Mortals.
For Mortals,
Okay,
yes.
right on.
Not Unknown Mortals. That's
Okay.
2/3 of a band name. So
Oh, got it. All right.
all right. So this book, it came out, I believe, a few months ago.
Okay.
It went to the New York Times Young Adult Bestseller list the same week that it came out, which is
Okay.
a little difficult to do if you
Okay.
don't have a big time, publisher behind you,
Right.
which this person didn't. The person who wrote the book, Lani Sarem is her name.
Mhm.
Also kind of an unknown, not kind of, I mean, she is
Yeah.
an unknown writer.
I think I read about this.
Yeah. I had never heard about this, but apparently it was a big thing.
I have a couple friends who are authors, and they were talking about this and
Yes.
how she got it to the
Right.
bestseller list.
That's what we're
'Cause
going
there
to
was-
talk about.
Okay. Because
Yeah.
I was like, wait a minute, this is all sounding really, really familiar.
Because really, otherwise, who would care? Like if there's not
Okay.
like some big,
Yeah.
Controversy.
So there's this book called The Hate You Give. Have y'all heard of that book?
I have heard of that.
I
book.
have
Angie
not.
Thomas wrote it.
Yeah.
I've read it. It's a really great book. So it's been on the top of the YA New York Times bestseller list for 6 months now.
All right.
Okay.
So then
Right on.
this kind of random book comes out. It dethrones The Hate You Give the same week that it comes out. It says that it has sold 18,000 copies in 1 week.
Wow.
So that sounds like, if you think about it in music terms, movie terms, that's super low.
Yeah.
But book terms,
Right.
that's
a lot.
insane.
That's astronomical.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
For 1 week.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a lot of the YA authors out there, the day that this news breaks, right,
Mm-hmm.
they start to tweet that something's not right. Okay.
Right.
So they're just like, it's kind of odd that someone from an unknown publishing house, which the people publishing it, they're called Geek Scene or something.
Nice.
Isn't it
think
like
it's what
a
it's called.
self-publishing company?
It sort of is. It's a blog.
It's one of those lower
Okay.
tier. Yeah.
It's very low tier.
Yeah.
It's a blog, like a popular culture blog.
Okay.
I don't think they had ever published a book until this one came out.
Hmm.
So the people that own that site are friends with the kid who was in Rookie of the Year.
Pitcher's got a big butt. That kid.
Thomas Ian Nicholas.
That's the kid.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. All right.
who was also in
Gardenhoser.
American Pie.
Oh, he
Do you remember that?
totally was. He was one
Okay.
of the dudes. Yeah.
So
Which
somehow
one? What? I don't.
he was the guy that dated Tara Reid.
Yeah.
in American
man,
Pie.
that's exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's got
Can
dark
you
hair.
Imagine him now. Kind of.
I'm gonna look him up.
Once you see him,
You'll totally
Yeah.
get it.
once
yeah,
you see him,
for
you will
sure.
totally get it.
This
So
American
she,
guy.
so Lani Sarem, who wrote this book, she met him because she lived in like Vegas, I want to say.
She met. Pitcher's got a big butt.
Yes.
Gardenhoser.
Yes.
Okay.
So so he's in a band. He has his own band.
Okay.
And I think she's done basically anything you can do to like get famous or try to get famous, you know?
Okay.
So she got mixed up with this band and met him and told him that she had this screenplay, and he was like, you should turn it into a book because, you know, books and movies make more money and all this stuff.
I hope she was like, it's about a little kid who plays for the major leagues. And then he punched her. The end. Sorry.
So she like promises him a role in the film. She promises him in this film that's not even like probably going to be made at that point.
Yeah.
Says that he can, you know, produce it, do whatever he wants if he helps her get this book out. So again, he calls on his friends that own this second tier pop culture blog site. And they're like, sure, cool.
This
we'll
story.
make this book.
Pitcher's got a big butt, needs to get a little bit more
It's
woke.
So the more that I read about this, I'm like, man, this is like lower than low tier, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, it just gets worse and worse.
Right.
Like this unknown chick, you know, publishing a book, whatever. But then she thinks that Thomas Ian Nicholas is going to like, you know, propel her to YA author stardom, you know?
That's some like C-list celebrity. Is like,
so she thinks that he has cred because he goes to all these Wizard World conventions.
this is getting so much better.
I'm
Every
telling
new
you,
thing you say.
it is just digging.
Wow.
It's
Okay.
digging through lower and lower tiers.
Okay.
So
Are you laughing or burping? I'm not sure.
That was a
Oh, okay.
that was like a
Was it-
that was a
was
laugh
it-
stifle.
Well, I'm
Laugh
looking
snort.
down because
It
I'm
was-
looking for the thread that my friend had started, who is also a YA author.
oh yeah.
And so she was talking about this, and so there was she's friends with several other authors,
Yeah.
and so they were talking about all this. So I'm looking for the thread, and I can't find it. So as I'm listening to you, I'm hearing out of the other ear these random burp
It
sounds,
was,
and I
if you
wasn't
will,
sure.
a truncated laugh.
Oh, nice.
So, damn.
So he goes to all these Wizard World, like Comic-Con type things. My question is, why is the kid on Rookie of the Year and American Pie featured in a Wizard
Well,
World
that
Comic-Con?
was- I
That's a great
wondering
question.
about that.
Many questions. I'm bubbling with questions. I want to find my own C-list celebrity. Frankly, I wonder what Nicole Richie is up to.
C is being kind
Well,
at this point. I mean, he's
well,
not
Nicole
really,
Richie isn't she on a
She's
show?
back on TV, I
Yeah,
think.
Oh,
she's
so
back on
never
TV
mind.
now.
She's too high.
She's at least B.
Okay,
plus.
well, yeah. B plus.
Yeah.
Who can get me famous? We need to
So
think about that.
so she
Look at
goes,
ourselves famous with this podcast.
Here.
That's
or we
what'll
can
happen.
call
Slurp's coffee.
who is the Chris Klein? He was in American Pie.
Oh, Chris Klein.
can
What's
call
he
him.
doing? Playing lacrosse somewhere with his
Yeah.
square
There you
jaw?
go.
Yeah.
We got him.
Oh,
I mean,
God,
shoot, we
what
could
has
just
he
call
done?
Tara Reid, really. It's like just
Yeah.
Tara Reid.
She can
So-
sign my copy of
Hook me
Sharknado.
up, girl. Yeah, right.
So she goes. So this Lani Sarem, she goes with him to all these, you know, Wizard World Comic-Con things, and they take pre-orders for this book that A, has not been printed, B, has no set printing date.
Has it even really been
There's no
written at this
cover.
point in the story?
Not really. There's no
Oh my
cover
God.
to this book,
Wow.
but supposedly people are pre-ordering this book at the Comic-Con Wizard World things.
Okay.
So fast forward, the book gets a date of release, right?
Uh-huh.
I think like the week after the book comes out, and, you know, it comes out that the book is on the bestseller list, #1, 18,000 copies.
That's intense,
Mhm.
man. What?
People start to talk.
Sure.
And
Sure.
this guy, and I've already forgotten his name, Stamper, I think is his last name. He's a young adult, you know, author. And this is a very tight-knit community.
Yeah, but so,
is.
for
Young-
sure.
young adult
for sure,
authors.
for
It is
sure,
very
yeah.
much so,
Whether
yeah.
you are
Yeah.
a super nationally known
Right.
YA author or you are a local YA author,
Right.
Yeah.
they are a very tight group.
I would like to think that they're a little bit like the Freemasons, and they have secret society meetings, and J.K.
Well,
Rowling.
they do have conventions
sits.
and things where they get together.
All right,
and,
all
yeah.
right, all right,
And
all
who
right.
knows what happens?
Yeah,
you know?
right. Yeah. Everybody.
So,
Harry Potter,
so
everybody.
this guy starts to screenshot these inbox messages that he's getting from booksellers.
Mm.
So what has happened is someone has called these. I think it was all over the U.S.
Yeah, it was all over the country. They were
these
calling
books,
these
these
bookstores.
bookshops, and they're like, "Hey, do you report sales to the New York Times?"
Mm.
If they said yes, they would
Ah.
order a huge amount,
Got
like
Mhm.
over 1,000 books
Got it.
from them,
Got it.
and say, "Yeah, we're doing an event, and I need
Foul
this
play.
many books." Right.
Okay.
So, so people would say, please don't say my name or what store I'm from. But yeah, this, went down.
Mhm.
So finally, more and more reports of this start coming out. This, again, it's all through tweets.
Yes.
This
Yep.
is all Twitter,
Okay.
right? So finally, the New York Times looks into it, and they pull her book off of the bestseller list
Sure.
the same day that it hits.
How about that? Wow.
Because
it all
they
happened
said-
in a day.
Yeah.
And they have very
Well, and
strict
then they were
parameters.
calling after the numbers were reported. They were calling and canceling those orders.
Yes. So it was all
Oh.
extremely obvious what
Oh
was
my
going on.
gosh.
Yeah.
And just a side note, scams for books to hit the New York Times bestseller list, it's not a new thing.
Oh,
No,
okay.
it's not.
Okay, I didn't
It's
realize.
not.
Yeah.
I mean, and scam is kind of a strong word. There's ways to kind of get around the rules.
Yeah, there's ways to manipulate the numbers.
But you
for
also
sure.
kind of have to prove that these books are being legitimately sold to people.
right, for sure.
The big time publishing houses can kind of pull that off more than, a low tier pop culture blog.
I was
Right.
I was really hoping that Thomas Ian Nicholas, right?
Here it
Picture's
is.
got a big
I
butt.
found it.
I was
Yeah.
hoping that he'd phoned in a bunch of favors from his old American Pie and Rookie of the Year cast and was like, "Listen, guys,
Yeah,
would y'all
yeah,
call a
yeah.
bunch of bookstores and order 1,000 copies each?" And look at his
Okay,
big dopey face.
So I'm Rachel. Why do I almost call you Rachel? April.
Okay.
April was showing us a post that one of her friends, who is a YA author,
Mm-hmm.
posted about this very thing, and it's the article that Lani Sarem actually wrote for HuffPo. So I read this. All right. So here's sort of a timeline of the response. Okay.
Okay. Oh boy, the response.
So response
on.
one, Lani
And it has
Sarem.
57 comments, most of which are other
Oh, I'm
YA
sure.
authors as well.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, so they were going off.
So number one response from
Yeah.
from Lani Sarem, is I am being cyber attacked and cyber bullied by the YA authors.
Okay, so that
Because
was her first.
I am a outsider. I did
Uh-huh.
not send them advanced copies of my book, which I laughed for like 10 minutes about that. Like, that's the difference,
Right.
Yeah.
And, I'm not a part of their clique, so they don't want to accept me. They think,
Right.
blah, blah, blah.
Suzanne Collins is somewhere being like, "Ooh, I didn't get an advance copy of that book. I'm mad."
Down with Lani Sarem.
right. Yeah, right. And
So-
the
Judy
flying-
Blume
the
is
fly-
like,
Judy Blume.
no.
And then the flying monkeys, "My pretties, fly, fly."
So she was like, this is a vast, conspiracy against an outsider or whatever to get me
I think I
off the
just showed my
bestseller list.
age.
So the second response was
Super
the
Fudge is
one
mad.
that you showed,
Mhm.
all right, where she comes out and says, "No, we didn't scam the system. All we did was we bought all these books because convention sales don't count." So this is her big thing at this point, is that when you show up at these things, you order books directly from whatever publishing house you worked with,
Right.
So you bring the books direct from them, and then you sell them. So that's not a
So
New York
those numbers
Times
don't
reported,
count.
right?
Okay.
So if you
But
get
if you're
get it from a bookstore, then those numbers do count.
right,
Huh.
in some places, some authors will, or some publishing houses will buy bulk orders. So say you're doing a event at like Barnes and Noble, right?
Right.
So you're going to buy. Well, some of them do. Some of them go ahead and buy this bulk amount.
Right.
And of course that's, reported.
Hmm.
But her thing was, when we go to these low tier Wizard World conventions with my F-list star beside me, Thomas
Greasy.
Ian Nicholas,
You forgot Greasy.
He
After
does
that
look
picture,
a little greasy in the
I
He
would
does
not
it.
buy a book off of that guy.
the sales do not count. So that was part two.
Huh.
Part three of the response.
Oh, there's a
was-
part
There's
three.
more. I'm so
Yay.
excited.
So a journalist sat down with her from Vulture, I think, which is
Okay,
an online
yeah.
magazine.
Right.
They may have a print magazine. I don't remember.
I feel like they do have a
But
print. Vulture. Yeah.
She had a friend who worked for this super skeezy marketing company, and they basically say outright, "We will scam the system and we will make you money." And
Wow.
we know the ways around all this stuff, and
Dude,
Wow.
So they hired them. They hired them.
I got you. Okay, right.
And Lani did not let anyone know that they hired them. So when she goes in, her like big journalist gotcha moment is, I know for a fact that you hired, I think their name's like Result Source or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
because I have a friend who works there and I have seen the bill of sale for orders.
So
that
hold on,
they
wait.
placed.
You have a friend who works for the scam company?
I do not. This person who wrote the article did. That'd be
what?
cool if I did.
Oh,
So
you got the inside
It's like,
scoop.
Cece, listen, I have a few books out. I don't know if you know. I'm just trying to get my name out there a little bit.
Wow, I just had completely forgotten that you're an author.
I know.
I was like,
So-
oh, wait a minute.
So after she's like, no, we didn't hire any kind of external, marketing. All we did, I placed the phone calls myself. I called the bookstores. I'm the one that ordered the books because we needed them for our pre-sales and all this stuff. So then again, the journalist is like, no, I know for a
Right.
fact I have seen the bills of sales from when this, Result Source or whatever called the bookstores to fraudulently order these books.
Dude.
Well, then she just shuts down. And
Yeah.
she's just
Wow.
like, okay. And she goes, I'm going to call you and give you an answer
Yep.
about this
Oh,
in a few days.
it's making me
So
feel so
she-
awkward.
So this is
Wow.
response 3.
It
right?
hurts.
So she and Thomas Ian Nicholas both call this journalist to provide their stance on why they hired Result Source and why they lied about it,
Oh.
why they did indeed
my
scam the system.
Gosh.
Well, what's
So-
that response?
Are we
Basically,
13 again or something?
oh man,
What is
dude.
this?
it's like the most petty thing I've ever heard in my life.
Oh my
Seriously.
gosh.
So finally they said, yeah, we did because the New York Times bestseller list is a scam
Okay.
and it's an outdated
Brr, brr,
list
brr.
and it's, they don't count convention sales
That
and it's
old
outdated.
chestnut.
Right.
I don't like the system, so it's wrong.
Right.
There it is. Yeah, I
Right.
disagree with the systems. It's
Right.
corrupt and yeah.
But
yeah.
my whole thing, if that would have been her response at first, like, hey, this is
Yeah.
an issue.
Yeah.
They don't count sales, these person-to-person sales,
Uh-huh.
This is the issue. We don't like this, and this is the problem that we have.
Right.
As opposed to, oh, I'm being attacked.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
for sure, for
I mean, I
to
still don't
I'm the one that
necessarily
called to
agree-
fulfill pre-sale
yeah.
orders.
I still
Right.
don't
You know?
necessarily
Yeah.
agree with the method of calling these bookstores and placing this big order.
No, for sure not.
And then
Right.
calling back and
Canceling it.
canceling it.
Absolutely
Well,
not.
that's
I don't like that at
subversive.
all.
That's dishonest.
But
right.
at the same time, I could have been like, okay, and so if they had said, yes, maybe our methods were not exactly ideal, and you know
Right.
what, I regret that.
Right.
But here's why we did it this way, and this was not right, but this is what our thoughts are.
Or how-
that would have
Yes.
been
a much
so
more
much
professional
better.
Or how
approach.
about no subversion whatsoever? And this person, what's her name?
Laney Sarem?
Laney Boggs from She's All That.
So many 90s references today.
What if she just came on the scene as a social act, like a literary social activist,
Exactly.
and
right.
didn't do any of this subversion, and
Because,
never
I mean,
found
I
Pictures Got
didn't-
a Big Butt, and was instead
Thanks
want-
for pointing at me.
wanted to be
I mean,
wanted
yeah,
to be
but
a voice for truncation. I mean, wanted to be a voice for hey, listen, I'm self-published. Me, Brandon P. Thompson, and I don't. There's never going to be a hope.
Brandon P. Thompson.
Literally, yes. P for pretty awesome.
Let me PA.
so Brandon P.A. Thompson.
Brandon P. A. Thompson. But so there's absolutely never
Brandon
any
Pretty.
chance.
Brandon Pretty Thompson.
I am so pretty though, you guys. It's true.
Oh, wow.
Remember, my eyes are not, in fact, dead moose eyes. All of you social media people. Anyway, all I'm striking at is it sure would be nice for
Pigs
the little
don't
guy.
lie.
The little cartoons.
I had so much fun creating that photo
Oh my
album
God.
yesterday.
The whole tune thing.
Oh my god.
All right, pretty. Go on.
No,
Good, yeah,
that's,
sorry.
That's all.
Sorry, I derailed you.
You
My
guys are
bad.
so good. No, it's good. It would be nice for the little guy to have a little bit of a shot.
Of
You know what I
course,
mean? It's
yeah.
gonna
Yeah.
I agree with that.
But if you don't do that subversively, I would be excited about someone who wanted to lead the charge. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Obviously,
Well, they
don't
hired
do it
this.
dishonestly.
So they hired this company for $20,000. That's their base.
Wow.
Get you
Wow.
in the door.
Wow.
Just cost that much.
Wow.
So I think what they had in mind was
Using his
this
Rookie
is
of the
going
Year
to
money
take
for
off.
Right.
Right?
on,
Like, where are they
for
getting
sure.
this
Like, I
money?
don't have $20,000.
I mean,
What,
do you
didn't you
think
think that
Rookie
money-
of the Year has made you that much money?
Man,
You know?
apparently,
Not even in '93, baby.
or at least
I
we
mean,
think so.
I just can't even imagine that he has that
Well,
kind of
take
money.
that money. Now that I've heard that, I'm even angrier because take that money that you paid this subversive, dishonest scam company,
Yeah.
and put it into your art. If you. So here's the thing. This is not about art for a second. This
Well,
is
no,
about
it's
fame,
not.
right?
Absolutely.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
about fame
And Vulture's article with the journalist
Okay,
that had
so
the
all-
friend, she's the one that was pointing out all the ways Lani tried to get famous before
Gross.
she wrote this book, but it was a
Gross.
screenplay first, and then it was a book. Like, she had promised Carrot Top a role in. That is
Why
no joke.
did you not
I am
lead
not
with
kidding.
this, Cece?
I'm not kidding.
Come on.
Oh my God.
Why?
I'm not kidding.
Oh my
She
God.
promised Carrot Top himself, a role in the film before the screenplay was even written.
Oh,
This
Only
is like what we're
after-
dealing with.
Only after Larry the Cable Guy
Wow.
turned her down, I hope.
I hope so too.
oh
Yeah.
gosh.
Yeah.
So so after all of this
Ugh.
controversy, is the book even good? Does
Oh,
anybody
no.
know?
Well, I'm going to
I
assume
mean, I
not.
do. I'm not going to lie. I like the title. I think it's an
Unknown
interesting.
Mortal Orchestra.
It's an
the band.
Yeah. It's an interesting title. As soon as I heard it, I was like, "Oh, that must be a YA book."
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Definitely
sure.
a YA title.
Sure, sure.
But,
Handbook for
you know,
Mortals.
but still, it's an interesting title. Okay, it would at least catch my attention.
Yeah.
But is it? So it's not even any good.
From what I hear, it's not. And
Okay.
I mean, it's gotten 1 star on Goodreads. I do think that's probably
Is
other
that-
people mad about the.
Yeah, I was going to say, is that
Hmm.
backlash from this?
It probably
or
is a
it
little
the
bit.
book?
In
Mm.
that one article, though, she did talk about how bad it was and how, and I mean,
Really?
Lani herself said that she had to have 3 separate editors at all times, not just like one person looks at it and then passes it on to the next. No, like 3 people had to work on this young adult book.
I see them like swarming her,
Oh.
chain smoking cigarettes with like cups of coffee, being like, "No, Lanny, you can't say that. There is no such word as used to could." Like,
Listen here, darling. I don't think that this word is really going to work here.
Yeah,
I don't know why
right.
this is. Why I don't know why you've got this sentence structure here. And I'm
Oh,
sorry,
man.
this plot point just really doesn't make any sense.
darling, listen to
what
me,
was
baby.
Joey's agent's name in
Yes,
Friends?
her.
That's what you just sounded
I know.
like.
I know. I
That's
also
so
just sounded
funny.
like my character from Lost in Yonkers last
nice,
week.
nice, nice. Yeah, dude.
The only thing that was missing was the part where I sucked in like this at the end of the sentence.
Wow, man.
So she puts like a little plot summary of a part of it.
Oh Lord.
And she says what's really sad about it is all the things that this pretty perfect girl in the book, like nothing ever happens to her. She, all the men love her. I mean, she's
typical
just-
YA.
Yeah. So, but it's all very small triumphs, right?
Mm.
So, like in one scene, she goes to the mall, and Wayne Newton and Carrot Top are there,
I can't.
and all that.
I just can't do it.
Just want to say they were both rolling their eyes so hard that like silence was just
Right.
all we could muster.
End of chapter.
But,
Right. But all that it is she just is like, "Hey, Wayne Newton and Carrot Top," and they're like, "Hey, protagonist and Handbook for Mortals." I don't know her name. And they're like, "Follow your dreams," and she's like, "Yeah, cool, I will." And that's like basically the end of it.
I can't. I just,
That's like all of the scene.
I really don't.
She was like, it was like literally a few lines.
I don't.
And then she asks Lani about this when she interviews her, and that's when she says that she promised Carrot Top a role in the film.
What about Wayne Newton?
I guess that he's too big. I don't know.
I mean,
But,
But-
we're gonna have Carrot Top in here. We got to give it some some credibility. So let's put Wayne Newton in there. Okay.
Follow your dreams, kiddo. Sure will. Thanks, Wayne Newton.
Okay.
thanks, Wayne Newton.
Hashtag thanks Wayne Newton.
Jean-Claude Van Damme, thumbs up. Thumbs friggin'
Oh.
up, man.
But yeah, so
Wow.
so she said that since she had promised Carrot Top the role in the film, she had to make the book match the movie.
Wow.
And here's what I want to leave y'all with.
No, you don't.
Okay,
You watch movies? No, you don't.
right?
Oh.
Why do you promise Carrot Top a role in anything?
Oh.
So here's where I want to leave y'all. So the YA machine, all right? The YA machine now is you write something that can have 3 or 4 parts to it so that it can eventually become this blockbuster film.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
Following, Hunger Games, Twilight,
Totally. Harry Potter. Sure.
right? I mean, that's been the way,
Sure.
right? So now I think the book to movie thing has sort of flip-flopped.
Mm-hmm.
You get a movie idea and then you write a book that will match that,
Yeah.
and then
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Well,
It'll
I know
propel
that
you.
I've seen some interviews with some authors, and not necessarily YA only, but where they've been talking about like when they wrote it out, it was playing out like a movie in their head.
sure,
And
yeah,
that makes perfect.
which I'm sure happens
yeah,
a lot.
that makes perfect sense to me. So I guess I can
It's
see
just
that.
it's just another discussion about art for me, and I hate to be the guy and who'd be like, well, geez, guys, is that high art or is it not? I don't mean to be like wearing my bow tie, because all people who wear bow ties are
They are.
museum curators who are.
Sure.
I can't
rude
decide if
about
I'm
art.
curious whether I want to see you in a bow tie or not.
I don't know, man. I think I've never really worn a bow tie.
Just wear it the
No,
next time.
now I need to. Now I need to.
I'll
see
wear
you
a
in
bow tie
With
with
that
t-shirt.
t-shirt,
With
yeah.
this t-shirt.
Yes.
Sounds good. Okay.
Perfect.
Great.
Mhm.
I don't have little bow ties instead of
And it needs to be one of those
shoestrings.
clip-on ones.
For sure. Yeah, no doubt.
like
Okay.
it's got Anyway,
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know. I'm disappointed in the whole story and culturally, kind of like we talked about in our last episode. Like, there's this cultural thing. It's not about art for a second. It's about fame, and what is fame about? In my opinion, other than like this greed, like this
Making money.
I want to get things for myself, and I want people to know who I am and be famous, and I want a bunch of likes on social media. It's this addictive cultural issue, and it ain't solving no problems, right? So
No.
I'm worried about that this is happening. I really like Harry Potter, but
I love Harry
but
Potter.
I'm worried that this is happening.
Yeah.
So,
Huh.
yeah.
Interesting.
So yeah.
So you guys, I have this great idea for a movie,
Okay.
but I was thinking about also turning it into a book. I don't know what you think.
What is it?
It's called The Hero Guardians of the Inexorable Universe.
You're just making this up as you go.
The Hero Guardians of the Inexorable Universe.
Yes, uh-huh.
I
Rolls
would watch
off
this.
the tongue.
And
Wow.
the Hero Guardians are a team of 6 mutant
Podcast host.
space podcast hosts from outer space, and they save the planet from evil muskrat people. So you can totally see it as a movie, right?
Right,
yeah.
right.
But
Totally.
I need to hire a bunch of editors to surround me at all
Sure.
times.
Yeah.
And I'm looking for Tara Reid, maybe, or someone who can help me get this thing off the ground.
Jason
Wow.
Biggs.
We just got a
Biggs.
snort from Mark.
Jason Biggs is the guy.
Yeah.
Where are you, Jason Biggs?
He's done some things. He was
Yeah.
in Orange is the New Black.
Yeah.
Okay.
He was
Yeah,
in
that's
the
right.
first
He
season.
was. That's
Yeah.
for sure true. Okay. Well, anyway, me and Jim from American Pie are gonna get this thing off the ground. So y'all,
Oh, wow.
listeners, fans,
Can't wait.
stalkers,
What was it? The Hero Guardians of the...
Inexorable Universe,
Wow. Okay.
uprising, insurgent.
Well, speaking of film, I had homework, and so did Brandon. We had to, last week, we discovered that Brandon had never seen Grey Gardens, didn't even know what it was.
I had no frame of reference.
And I am
whatsoever.
obsessed with Grey Gardens. And so I insisted that he watch this.
Yeah.
And he, in turn, gave me a documentary to watch, The Wild and Wonderful Whites of West Virginia.
It's the best thing I've ever known.
And I have to say, it was interesting.
It
and
was
like not
wild
in
and
not in
wonderful.
that's interesting kind of way. It was really actually very interesting.
Right on.
I really enjoyed it.
I'm so glad you did.
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I loved the way that they told the story. But what's really interesting is I'm watching this and I'm taking notes because I knew it was for this, and I ended up actually having to print out the family tree.
I wondered what
I
that
really
was.
wanna
when you
say-
opened
family
it.
tree.
Yeah.
I'll post a picture of it on our Facebook.
As soon
page.
as you opened
So
up
there
your
are
notebook.
actual branches.
There are actual branches. There's like 10 of them. Well, I mean,
It's not straight up and down. Okay.
I was trying to, and this is just from 2 parents.
Oh.
Birdie Mae White, the miracle woman.
Birdie Mae White is the mother, and D. Ray White is the father. And
Oh.
so then did they have 10 kids?
I don't
think
know the
I'm
numbers.
like trying to count on here. Some of them are deceased because they didn't make it into the documentary. They did
The
a
Ballad
long
of
time
D.
ago.
Ray White.
Yes, I mean some of the music
Now-
is actually really, really good.
I know,
really
right?
Fun.
Now, what's the year that like they were around?
They're
The
still around.
Ma and Pa. They are
Ma and Pa.
like the first couple
Yeah,
that you said.
D. Ray died. He was shot in the 70s or 80s.
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
then,
well,
but the
and-
mother like just died. Is that
she
right?
died like the year that they were there following the Whites.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
Which is the same year that she
died.
passed
Okay.
away.
Yeah.
But was
Um,
she actually in the film?
Yeah,
I
she
can't
actually was in
remember.
the film.
Okay. Yeah.
And my favorite line that she has, she actually says this. She gives this quote. She goes, "You get too old to cut the mustard, lick the jar."
Oh man.
My daddy always
does
said
even
that.
mean?
I don't
I
know what
love
he
it,
meant
but
by
what does it
that. I love it so much.
What does it mean though?
Well, I guess cut the mustard is like being.
I'm gonna
good
have to
en-
look it up.
Like
Yeah.
being good enough to being able to like.
If you can't cut
make
the
it.
mustard, lick the jar. If you're not good enough to make it, lick the jar anyway.
I wondered what cut the mustard meant
See,
in a safer work way. Like I thought it meant like
Cut the cheese. That's safe for work, CC.
It is.
Well, see, I think the way I've always taken it is like being good enough. If you're being good enough
cut
to
the
do
mustard.
things, if
Cut the
you're
mustard.
or if you're not
Let's
able
see.
to, if your best isn't good enough,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you just keep going. Or
You
whatever.
reach the required standard.
You've reached the required standard, and if you can't reach the required standard, lick
Just
the jar.
lick that jar.
Lick the all around
You
the
know,
rim,
that
all
makes
around.
so much more sense now. That makes so much more sense.
Get that mustard.
All right.
Lick the rim of the jar.
Yeah.
Another quote
With
that
your
actually I thought really summed up a lot of the movie, and specifically for this one poor character. Her name is Kirk. I don't know what she actually goes. I don't know what her actual name is, but she goes by Kirk.
I'm pretty sure it's Kirk.
See, I'm getting.
Well, she goes by Kirk, but like, is it maybe
Now, okay, so Kirk is one of the children of.
Kirk?
I'm gonna
is
call
a
them mom and pop. She's a,
grandchild.
okay.
Yeah,
I know
that's
you're talking
right.
about now. She has the son.
Yeah.
Tyler.
Yes.
Yes, she has
Okay.
a son, and then she has a baby in the documentary. And bless her heart, her story is actually really heartbreaking.
It is. It is.
She ends up going into rehab. Because
Yes,
I think,
her. Yes.
They end up taking the baby, and I don't know. I haven't done any research to see like where they are now or anything like that.
Her story has a happy ending.
It does have a happy ending?
And I followed up, a year or so ago. I follow these people because, sorry, may I interject
no,
just very,
absolutely.
very quickly?
Yes, I was hoping you
Super
would.
duper quickly, and I don't mean to step on your toes, April, but just a little tiny bit of background from so I'm from Eastern Kentucky, not originally, but we moved there when I was in high school. I wasn't one of the cool kids, you can tell. What the cool kids were doing.
Nerd.
What the nerd. Star Wars. It's all because of Star Wars. What the cool kids were doing in my high school in Louisa, Kentucky in the late 90s were going to Boone County, West Virginia to hang out with Jesco and Mamie White.
Wow.
And I was always
How
like
far away was it from you? Because it's only 3.5 hours away from
Yeah.
here,
hour
from
or
where
so.
we are right
and
now.
yeah, I mean, as soon as they could drive, like I remember, like being like, "I wish I could come hang out with Jesco," because there was.
Bless your heart.
I know, right?
What was it? The Dancing Outlaw,
Yes.
the documentary
Yeah,
about
yes.
him,
Yes, right.
was an underground
Right.
an underground classic. It was
Yeah.
an underground hit
Yeah.
in the 90s, I
Exactly.
believe.
So they would have like Dancing Outlaw parties where everybody would
Yeah.
go to the cool kid's house and they'd watch the Dancing Outlaw, and then the next day they'd go and they knew like where to find them and like what
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
bars or taverns. I don't know if the taverns are letting in 17-year-old kids, but in Boone County, West
Oh,
Virginia in the 90s,
yeah.
they
I was
for
gonna
sure
say.
did. Okay, so I had this frame of reference for Jesco, and then this is it's Johnny Knoxville. It's,
Right,
It's
yeah.
these guys.
I forgot that he was
Yeah,
the one.
Yeah, he was
Yeah.
he was the one who was kind of behind the project, and then they got the same director who did the Dancing Outlaw to
Right.
come back and do this.
And
Yeah.
right. So that's my frame of reference. And so then when this film came out, I mean, I was all over it, and it is beyond the shadow of a doubt one of the funniest. I watch it, and I almost have to show you guys. I can't say it. I watch it like this every
So-
time. I've
so
watched it
just
like 20
Flat
times.
jaw, dead moose eye,
Oh my god!
Yokel.
Oh my god!
Incredulous.
First time.
I think
Oh.
that's
Yeah.
anyone's response. I mean, that's how
Yeah.
I felt
Yeah.
when I first watched it.
I because I watched it yesterday for the first time, and I was fascinated by these people.
Mhm.
A lot of it was very familiar
Mhm.
because they're only 3.5 hours away from us, and
right,
so if these are the kinds of some of the kinds of people that we stumble across in our day-to-day life here. Some people that we see, and my
Right.
kids. Oh, it's still connected.
good.
It's just
Okay.
the cover is coming up. My
Gotcha.
microphone was having problems.
I was about to dive across the table. And
There are some people that I have connections to who are from Hazard, who are even closer to Boone County, West Virginia, and so some of this, I'm not making any comparisons between the two, but I'm saying that there is a culture that
Oh, it's a
that
very
is very-
proud.
It's very proud, very
Appalachian,
proud.
Like,
Yeah.
and so that's a part of like, yes, the documentary is funny, and yes, it shows how this white clan kind of breaks the law and they're outlaws.
Yeah.
And, there is definitely like a lot of drug use and stuff, and some of it's very funny. But something and I mean this from the bottom of my heart. This is a lot like my interest in the artist Wesley Willis. A lot of people thought that Wesley Willis was being made fun of because he had schizophrenia and being taken advantage of. I think that these people's lives are artistic and beautiful, and
Jesco is very poetic.
oh my God,
Yeah.
He's so poetic. The
he's
way that
brilliant. I think he's a brilliant
yes,
person.
Some of the things that he says are just incredible. Like the way he's standing there in the family cemetery and he's talking about how there's something inside of them that is making them act the way that they do, and then
And the doctor told me my brain was eat up like a pile of cigarette ashes.
oh my
From when I was
God.
huffing gasoline for 10 long years.
Oh my God, you've got the voice down.
I'm a big fan.
I can tell.
I'm a big
I can
fan.
tell. It's really interesting. There was a quote, and I don't remember. It was somebody who's in the town that is not actually a member of the family. And I think it was maybe like one of the like the prosecutor for the
Yeah,
county
I think I
prosecutor.
heard,
Mhm.
And he says that they don't expect a whole lot out of life, and they live for the immediate. But it's so true.
It
Yeah,
is.
dude.
And I was like, so as I'm writing down things down, I'm like, they do not pull punches when it comes to what they have to say about themselves or about each other.
They're so honest,
love-
right?
They love fiercely. They
Yeah,
they
dude.
live hard and they love hard.
It's true.
Mhm.
And it's just
That's
they're
true.
they're fascinating.
They're
I
mountain
just, I
people,
really do
man.
love it.
Yeah.
They're mountain people.
are.
And they want to, obviously, they wanted to tell their story.
Yeah.
Like in this documentary is full of many different characters, and every last one of them is like, give me that camera, let me tell you what my life's about.
Absolutely.
I want to share my story. You know
yeah.
what I mean? So
It's fascinating.
Yeah.
So it just was just really interesting. But no, Kirk is the one who really I was just heartbroken for her. I'm glad her story had a happy ending.
seems that way.
Because like the quote that I was going to read from her is, "You stay in Boone County. I don't care how many dreams you have. It ain't going to happen."
Yeah.
And so her hope for her daughter
Yeah.
was to get her out of Boone County.
Right on.
And I
Right
don't
on.
know where they are at this point because I don't know when this was made.
It's been a while.
Yeah,
Maybe
so
10 years
look
ago,
back at this.
if not more than that.
Somewhere around there. It's been a decade or so, I guess.
2010.
Okay.
Oh, really?
So,
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh.
2010.
7-ish years. Okay.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
So I watched it about the time it came out, so it's been a while since I
Mhm.
watched it. But I remember being very sad about it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I mean, yes, I mean there are funny parts, and Jesco White is an extremely interesting
Yeah.
person. That famous egg quote that he, which I'm not going to say because
No,
it is
I will
not
say
safe for this podcast.
this
but
film is not family friendly.
it is not. I mean,
The-
there are a lot of like really terrible
For
things
sure.
that happen.
It's R-rated.
Yes,
Yeah.
they're
For
definitely R-rated for many reasons, many reasons.
Sure. Sure.
But it is fantastic if you are able to watch it.
But I mean, just the cycle that they live in and can't get out of
Yeah.
is extremely interesting to me.
It really is.
Well, so it's a picture, right? It's like a snapshot of a place in this country, and the people who are, they're like participating in it, and they're also in some ways like trapped by it.
Yes.
and
Yeah.
they're,
I think
they're
they're very
also
trapped by it.
right?
I think so too.
and they're like
And I think it's
created
just a
by
vicious
it,
cycle.
right?
Just
Absolutely.
one is creating the other.
Sure, right.
I mean, how are you that 1 in 10? So say that you're born with 10, brothers and sisters,
Mhm.
and every single one of them lives that life, right?
Except
How are
for,
you?
well, except for Pony.
Okay.
Oh!
No, what? Pawnee? Is it Pawnee? Is it Pawnee?
I've Pony is what I've always said.
I don't know.
He got
Let's
out.
go with Pony.
He got out.
He got out.
He got out. But the reason he got out though is because he got into trouble and he had to leave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he was. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I think it was something to do with pills.
Yeah.
And so he got out and he ended up leaving. And so he and his family are now in Minnesota, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Minnesota with his
Yeah,
kids.
they're
Yeah.
in Minnesota
Does he
now.
speak
Seem
to
to be doing
them?
well.
I don't remember.
I don't know, but
Yeah.
they did not. They were not very complimentary about
Well,
what the things
no.
that they had to say about
Mhm.
the family back home in West Virginia.
His kids were especially like, those
Especially,
people are
yeah.
losers. I don't want to be around
like,
them.
Yeah.
I remember his son saying, if I had stayed there, I'd be dead by now.
Yeah,
I'd have
yeah.
either.
I mean, it's
either been killed.
valid. It's
Yeah.
it's a valid point.
For
Yeah,
sure.
no,
and,
it is.
and think
It is.
about, think about this place now. I mean,
Mhm.
I wonder what Boone County or Boone, West Virginia
it's
looks
Boone
like
County.
now.
Yeah.
10 years into the worst drug epidemic we've
I
ever
know,
had.
yeah,
you know?
for sure,
Absolutely, yeah.
for sure, for
It's-
sure.
And I did tell you all I would not get on one about
Yeah.
opioid
Well, I mean,
I mean, it's a real thing.
it is a
It
real
is a
thing.
real
It's a
thing.
real
It is a real
thing.
thing, and I mean, and it has
Yeah.
touched everyone that I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In some
Yeah.
way,
Right.
In some way,
Yeah.
it has touched every single person that I know.
For
Yeah.
sure.
And I
Even-
think this was the very beginning.
Mm.
I think you're right.
Mm.
I think you're right because it's 2017 that came out in 2010, and this was of course a year before that. So
Right.
this was almost a full 10 years ago
Yeah.
that this was happening.
Now, Kirk's mom, isn't she one of the main people in the film?
Mamie White.
No.
Kirk's mom's not Mamie?
No, Kirk's mom is Bo.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't she one of the main people in the film?
Not maybe a little bit at the beginning. Mamie is the one that you really see a lot.
Okay.
You see Mamie, Jesco, Sue Bob.
Sue Bob. I'm thinking of
Yeah.
Sue Bob, too.
My name's Sue
Sue
Bob
Bob.
White.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sue Bob
Always
is the
was
one-
the prettiest of the
Yeah.
whites.
Yeah, I think Sue Bob because Dirk. I said Dirk. Kirk and Sue Bob
It would fit.
Dirk and Pony.
go to pick up the baby, and that's when she finds out
Yes.
that the baby
yes.
has been
That's what I'm
is
thinking
with
of. Yeah.
Child Protective Services.
Well, because she was born addicted, right? The
I
baby.
believe so. I don't think it
Yeah.
ever said, but it's implied
Pretty
that that's
clear.
what
It's
I
happened.
mean,
pretty
doesn't
clear.
she go
Yeah.
in to give birth and she's really messed up too? I mean, I don't remember. It's been a while.
There's a scene
Yeah.
where she's in the hospital after she has the baby, and then she crushes up a pill.
Yeah, I was always amazed that they did all these super illegal things,
Right
On
there,
and
camera?
it admitted to
How-
like
yeah.
Yes.
welfare fraud,
Right
and like all this
on,
stuff
for
on
sure.
camera.
And
Well,
it-
there's a
it
scene
really
where
is.
There's a scene where Mamie, who is the matriarch of this family, even though her mom
Yeah.
is Birdie Mae the Miracle Woman,
Right.
Mamie has become very much the matriarch. And there's a
Yes.
scene
Well,
where
and
she's
now,
like,
unfortunately, Birdie Mae has passed away.
Right.
So
right.
Mamie is the matriarch
she is.
now.
And there's a scene in this film where she's like, I got 3 well shafts down this holler, basically to imply that if you
Yeah.
mess with me, I'll kill you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
so.
And no bones about it.
Okay.
Yeah, no, they're fascinating, absolutely fascinating people, and I loved it at the end. They were like, Mousy and is it Charlie or Charles? It says Charles on here on the family
Oh, I think
tree.
it's Charles.
But
Yeah.
I don't know if he goes by Charles or Charlie.
Yeah.
He probably goes by like.
But like they're
Horsey.
married, but
Truck.
she was in prison, and then when she gets out, what? I missed something.
He just
probably
goes by
some like
truck.
weird nickname. Truck.
You know,
Good old Truck White.
what I do like though is in this family tree that they've got on here,
It's spelled without a C.
has their nicknames listed, not what their actual names are. It has
Nice,
their
that's
nicknames
right. Yeah.
because that's what they refer to each
For
other
sure,
as.
for
Right.
So
sure,
it's like,
for sure.
what? Who is this person?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. For
What are you
sure.
talking about? I don't know who this is because they're going by their real name, but they actually But like they at the end they do a follow up with this person's like Charles never went back to his he stayed with Mousy that night, never went back to his girlfriend. They were actually married and he was living with his girlfriend while she was in prison. So it's really interesting though. I'm just like
Oh
I
man,
love that these people are just
living life.
they live hard and love hard. It's the
Shout
best
out to
way.
Hank the Third, man. I got to give a
Hank
little
the
shout out to my
Third.
boy Hank the Third.
Did he do all the music for the film?
Most of it.
Don't know about
Yeah.
all,
Yeah.
but
He did
for-
a lot of it. It was
yeah.
I wrote it down because it was music by Deke Dickerson and Sheldon Hank Williams III.
I just love all these names.
I wish my
so
name was
much.
Deke Thompson.
Well, I mean, it can be.
Eddie, make it whatever
I
you
like
want it
Perry,
to be.
though.
It's for a low price of $9.99. Go down to the courthouse, change my name to Deke.
Oh my gosh!
Deke P. Thompson. Deke Pretty Thompson.
Oh my God, Deke Pretty Thompson. Oh my God! But no, I love it.
I was gonna change the P and the D, but that did not work out. if you said it out.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Slurping my coffee.
Yeah.
Slurp the coffee. All right,
sure
so
is
Brandon, your homework was Grey
Yeah.
Gardens.
Yeah, it was.
Tell me what you think about Grey Gardens.
So what I have to say is I want our listeners to know April spent a lot of time and gave her homework a lot of energy.
And listen,
And-
I really appreciate it.
I mean, really, me
Like,
too. Like, holy
I
cow.
forgot how great that film was.
Yeah,
You know,
right.
Yeah, I was
yeah,
actually
yeah.
gonna ask if I
really
could
is
borrow
really,
that
really
for
great.
this.
Absolutely.
Oh, I could absolutely
Take
do
it.
that. I could
Listen.
do this with Grey Gardens too. Oh man.
You take this to your home and enjoy it. So please, So I did not do as much homework as April did. Huge props to her. I watched both documentaries. I was.
Did you watch the HBO movie
did.
too?
I did.
Okay,
I did.
good,
I did.
good.
Yeah,
for
So
sure.
it gives you a lot of backstory.
I got. Yes, I did get some of the backstory.
And also Jessica Lange.
Oh my God.
yeah, for sure. And yeah, absolutely.
Oh my God.
But what I really want to.
I was indirectly compared to her as an actress one day. And I
Cheers to you.
I
I
was
can
like,
see it,
I
dude.
started crying.
For sure.
It's like, really?
You're all well. I'm going to retire now. It's been a wonderful career.
You said as your cigarette burns down to,
Yeah.
the, to the butt.
Listen, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, so I got the background and I understand like a little bit about their history and the time in which they were living. But what I really felt moved to share from my homework is that's not the first one I watched, right? So I was given 2 documentaries.
So you watched Grey Gardens first.
I watched Grey Gardens first.
Or the Beals of Grey
Did you-
Gardens?
which-
Is that what
Beals
it's
of Grey
called?
Gardens.
You watched
That's
the
what
Beals
it's
of Grey
called.
Gardens?
Yeah.
First.
Oh, because that's the behind the scenes thing.
I mean, it's just like an hour and a half of them talking at the camera, and
Yeah.
it's crazy.
Yeah.
yes,
I mean,
yeah.
it's-
You really, I'm sorry. You should have really started probably
No.
with either the HBO one or with Grey
I'm
Gardens.
super
itself
happy
first.
that I started with the one that I started with.
Really?
'Cause
Okay.
I sat on my carpet holding my kid for about half of it, just like looking at these women who love to sing to each other.
T42 X 240.
And I was like, what is this? So I was saying to myself throughout the duration of this first experience, I was like, am I watching mental illness?
Yes.
Am I watching drug addiction? Like, what am I watching?
I don't think they were on drugs at all.
I think there was just some very severe mental illness and some very severe neglect.
Neglect,
Not
for
just
sure,
of them at their home, and of each other,
right.
but by their family.
Oh,
Yes.
for sure.
By their
whole
family.
lives.
Absolutely.
And when you
clear.
couple that with also severe isolation,
Yes.
So
I mean, anybody would kind of lose it.
The isolation was what popped out for me, and then of course when I watched the HBO piece, like, there was a big part of it where they were talking about that. But man, like, so I don't know, like, it's like very much like the Wild and Wonderful Whites of West Virginia. It's like this study on this very unique circumstance that was born out of our culture. I mean, they were talking about President Kennedy, and like it's this beautiful snapshot, right, of this place in history. But man, it's unique.
Auntie Jackie.
Man, it's Auntie Jackie. Right?
I thought she was her cousin.
She
Whatever,
is
like
cousin. She is her
I think
cousin.
she was their cousin.
Yeah. Was she and Big Edie, I guess, were first cousins?
I don't remember.
I think they were first cousins.
Yeah, I
And
don't remember.
You can feel that culture. Like, you can feel the high class American,
The Hamptons.
Right?
That specific manner of speaking.
Yes.
They have-
right.
I need to find me a Libra man.
Yeah, right. You're a
Very
Libran.
Mother wanted me to come down in a kimono, so we had a fight.
Listen to you. That's
I
wow.
was obsessed.
That's wow.
With little Edie.
So I'm so like
Love little Edie.
Last week when I said that I didn't know anything about these guys, you guys were both like, "Whoa!" Like your hairs were blowing and the windows weren't even open. Like,
Well, Danny has a shirt.
Yes,
Has
which I
little Edie
want. I would
waving
steal
the
from him if
flag.
it would fit
Okay.
me.
Oh,
Did
dude.
you watch that scene?
Yeah,
Because
for sure.
That to me is
That's
the
the
most
iconic-
I
Yes.
actually YouTubed it. I pushed pause and YouTubed it right
Good.
after we texted last
Yeah.
night,
Yes.
and then
Yeah.
it came out. Yeah, it was really funny for sure. So, but what is it about? Like, why is it such a big deal to you?
For me, I just find them absolutely fascinating, and it's like watching a Super 8 train wreck in slow motion.
Ain't no doubt. Super
Yeah,
Great train
That's
wreck.
what
Put
it is.
It's same.
It's endearing because they love each other, but at the same time, it's heartbreaking because they trap each other in this house.
Yeah, right.
Big Edie very much traps little Edie.
Very
in that
much
house.
so.
It seems
And,
clear.
Makes her stay there.
Yeah.
It really
to take
breaks
care
her
of
down.
Really
I mean,
does.
it's a
Yeah.
long
Really does.
Yeah.
And
series
then
of
bless
breaking
her
her
heart,
down.
she developed little Edie develops alopecia.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's alopecia or alopecia, but either way, she lost all of her hair.
Yeah.
And
Right.
which is why she started wearing the interesting turbans, which were generally skirts or shirts or something on top of her head. By the way, listeners, if anyone wants to get in my good graces, buy me the pin. She has a brooch that she
Yeah.
wears
Oh,
every
right.
day. It's
Yeah.
either on top of her, like on her head, on the to hold something closed, or on her blouse,
or
what
skirt.
or her skirt,
Right.
to hold, which is like sideways,
Right.
to hold something closed. But it's just, these women. Part of it is also because they're still living very much in a time that has. That time just left them.
Yeah.
It just
Right.
left
Isn't
them
that
where
so?
they were.
It's so. That's
But
why.
and the time that they're still living in their minds is a time that does fascinate.
Sure.
Very much so.
Well, it's the same way with the Whites of West Virginia. It's like this time capsule we now
Yeah.
have. That people have gone and they filmed it, and we know their story, and we know. I don't know, like what was going on in Appalachia 10 years ago, and all the root causes, and D. Ray White 50 years ago, and this is such the Beals of Grey Gardens, right? For to me, is such this. It's like a time capsule once again, because it's this period in American history that we all revere so much,
Right.
that they're kind of, as you say, quote unquote, trapped in. But it's like and I don't want to say, it's like a darker side of it, or it's a side that we don't see.
Yeah, I'd say
You
it's definitely,
know,
at the very least, it's a side
or
we
it's-
don't see.
It's an untold story. For me, it was an untold story, right?
Well, I think part of what makes it so interesting to me is we assume that if a person has a big house and they have a name,
There you go.
because they had a double name. I mean, Beale was a very rich name.
Yeah.
Bouvier was a very rich
Movie,
name.
yeah, right.
So, I mean, they had a big house, they had,
Wasn't
pedigree,
it
they
Edith
had money.
Bouvier Beale was Big
I
Edie?
believe that was her
Is that-
name.
yeah, I thought so.
Okay.
So they had all these things that we think
Equal.
gives you an easy life.
Yeah.
Right on.
So when her husband leaves her, she has no way of doing anything,
and she's
making it, you know.
Yeah.
And she's so convinced that he's coming back.
I know.
Oh my God!
I know.
Yeah, that was the
entire
sad.
time.
It's
yeah,
really
it was the
sad.
super sad
It's,
piece.
and, you know, he's off. He's on. I don't remember what it was that she says that he's doing, but he'll be back.
Right.
No, he won't.
He took your son also.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
They're not
right.
coming back.
Right.
You know.
Hmm.
But I think like going back to what we said about the whites, we're like, oh, you know, the cycle that they're born into and they can't get out of.
Right.
Like we can't. Like, is there a rich cycle as well?
Right.
You know,
right.
like we
right.
can't
Yeah.
identify that.
How
you
about
know?
that though? So, and that's so interesting. So the whites are they're the ones who are in poverty, right? Trapped by this cycle of American impoverishment in a way.
Yeah.
And the Beals are trapped in these two particular, Big and Little Edie, right?
Right.
Are informing us of what it's like to be trapped in the cycle of like American affluence. Do you know what I
But-
mean?
well-
Well, I think that yeah, I do see what you're saying.
It
I
just-
think
it's kinda
that they
mirrors.
have.
I don't know
have
that
an
that's quite the
expectation.
right word.
Okay.
But expectation.
Yes.
The
I think-
expectation of affluence is maybe more.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
there's
okay.
a scene.
more
I feel
accurate.
that.
I guess it's in both the HBO and the actual Grey Gardens film, but the brother comes for Big Edie's birthday,
Yes.
Oh, yeah, right, yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
and they, you know, kind of find the best room they can find, and
Mhm.
I think they bring her dinner. I don't think they. I mean, they don't cook anything in there, right? Or do
Yeah,
they?
no,
Yeah.
they don't. They bring all
Yeah.
of the
Yeah.
food with them.
Right.
And in
with
that
them.
scene, you see how completely out of touch
Yeah.
Big Edie and Little Edie
Oh,
are
absolutely.
with the way that they live
Right.
and how they live.
For
you
sure.
know,
Absolutely.
each
You know,
day.
And when the house was finally up for sale, when she after Big Edie passed away and Little Edie inherited the house, and so then she's got it up for sale. She's walking people through it, and it looks worse than it did in the documentary at
Yeah.
that point.
How about that?
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
they couldn't take care of
Well,
it.
of
They
course
couldn't
No.
not.
afford
Yeah,
to it,
Right.
and they had just let it just fall apart.
Uh-huh.
Right.
And so she's like, "Oh, all it needs is a fresh coat of paint."
Yeah.
And
Right.
she was serious.
You
Yeah.
have got
Like that was not her kidding.
Yeah, no.
Like that was not, her
Yeah.
trying to like gloss over.
And they've
I mean,
got-
she was dead serious about that.
Yeah, and one of the things that they touched on in the HBO film that you see in the documentary is the hole in the hallway in the corner,
Yeah.
and like in the film, it's like it starts off like it's this really small hole, and then by
Yeah.
the end,
Oh, the cat.
like
Right.
there's a raccoon living
Right.
up there
Okay.
with cats,
Right. Right.
and
Fed by
Um,
white bread.
fed by white
Right.
and a box of cat food.
Right.
And but you see the hole get bigger and bigger and bigger
Okay.
as
Yeah.
they break down, get separated further and further,
You
and
know
further
that's
from
real.
time.
It's true. Yeah.
And it's brilliantly done and fascinating. And my profile picture is now my face superimposed over Little
Which
Edie's
I
face,
which
That's
I love.
right.
which is
Now
yeah,
I know.
love it.
April, I find myself wondering what would happen if Jessica White got together with Edie, little Edie Beale.
Well, is he a Libra man?
All he's trying to do is be open and honest and find out if you'd like to have some coffee and a cigarette sometime.
Well, I think I might be open to some coffee.
I got nothing
I
else.
can't do
I thought that would be
it. I can't do it while hearing a Southern accent. I can't do it. Oh, it's so hard. Oh. And I only know a few quotes, but anyway, well, I think we need to wrap up because we are right at an hour.
Yeah, let's
We're
wrap
right at
it up.
an hour, so it is time to tell you what you need to do to win these tickets.
All right, y'all.
All right, on Facebook, I will make a specific post that says if you have listened to episode 12, whatever this episode ends up being titled,
That superhero
you will know what
team
to
name,
do.
The Inexorable, legendary. I forget what they're
And what we need you to do is in the comments, post what type of food you would like to have a bathtub full of. And it must be a food item, like actual food, like mashed potatoes, pad thai, pizza, something like that. So what we need to do, and then we will, from everyone who participates, we will draw at random for who from everyone who does that, and then next week on our podcast we will announce who wins the tickets to see Thor Ragnarok on Sunday, November 5th at 2:35 p.m.
And
Two tickets.
I'd just like to make sure that you know that there are extra points to those people who then bring that food, their chosen food, to my house and fill my bathtub with it so that I can eat it.
All right.
You know what?
Be careful what you
might
wish for.
You go for it.
You're almost guaranteed to win the tickets if you do that. So, okay.
Nerd.
You know what? I'm going to laugh so hard if someone does it. Oh, and library employees are not eligible to
Right.
win.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
That's important.
Library.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Heather. Yeah.
Oh.
Heather's all, no. I can hear.
Library employees are not eligible to win. Sorry. But you can still participate. We'd love to see what you'd like to have.
Tell us your
bathtub full
bathtub
of.
food. Tell us your
All
bathtub
right.
food. Win the Thor ticks.
We'll see you later. It's been fun.
Yeah, that was a good chat, y'all.
My middle name is Pretty.
It is.
Bye, guys.
You see the play on Broadway down on there. T for two and two for C and me for you and you for me. Hello? Zeros to scenes for heroes, no friends or relations, and weekend vacations.